In the spring of 2021, a young family settled quietly into a townhouse in Brampton, Ontario, blending into a neighborhood where routines were predictable and privacy was respected. From the outside, there was nothing remarkable about the Patel household. Like many new immigrants, they were focused on building stability, working long hours, and raising their first child far from extended family. Their days followed a familiar rhythm: early mornings, late evenings, and the constant responsibilities that come with new parenthood. No one in the area had reason to believe their story would ever draw attention beyond the cul-de-sac they lived on. Aaron Patel had arrived in Canada 3 years earlier with carefully laid plans. He believed in structure, patience, and steady progress. He worked as a logistics analyst for a regional distribution firm, a job that demanded long hours but offered reliability. His income covered rent, utilities, and the growing expenses that accompanied life with an infant. Aaron wasn't chasing prestige. He was chasing security. To him, consistency mattered more than comfort, and sacrifice was simply part of the process. His wife, Lena Patel, stayed home with their son, Kian, who had been born during the early months of the pandemic. The timing intensified their isolation. Lockdowns limited social interaction, travel was impossible, and family support existed only through video calls scheduled across time zones. Lena managed the household almost entirely on her own. Feeding schedules, laundry, cleaning, and the emotional labor of caring for a baby without relief. She rarely complained. When she struggled, she internalized it, maintaining a composed exterior even during moments of exhaustion. Their townhouse was modest and functional. A narrow hallway led to a staircase that connected the main floor to 3 compact bedrooms upstairs. Kian's room was the smallest, yet the most thoughtfully arranged. A white crib sat beneath a soft night lamp, and in the corner, mounted carefully for a clear view, was a Wi-Fi baby monitor. It was an ordinary device, one used by countless parents seeking reassurance during sleepless nights. For Aaron and Lena, it represented peace of mind. It allowed one parent to rest while the other listened for cries, reducing the constant anxiety that often shadows first-time caregivers. Weekends were quiet. They cooked simple meals, shared dinner without distraction, and called relatives back in India for long conversations that helped them feel grounded. Occasionally, they walked the neighborhood with a stroller, moving slowly, exchanging brief observations about the week ahead. There were no public arguments, no raised voices, no visible tension. To neighbors and acquaintances, they appeared aligned in purpose and calm in temperament. Inside the home, life functioned smoothly. Bills were paid on time. The refrigerator was stocked. The baby followed a predictable sleep schedule. Even during moments of fatigue, both parents prioritized maintaining a stable environment. Visitors described the house as peaceful, orderly, and quiet. Nothing suggested instability. Nothing hinted at conflict. There were no financial emergencies, no visible fractures, no behavior that would raise concern. At night, when the lights dimmed and the house settled into silence, the baby monitor continued its quiet work. It captured small movements, soft sounds, and long stretches of stillness. Its role was simple: to watch over a sleeping child. No one in that home considered the possibility that this ordinary device would one day document events far beyond its intended purpose. At this stage, the Patel family looked intact. Their life reflected the shared experience of thousands of immigrant households, adjusting, enduring, and hoping for something better over time. There were no warning signs visible to the outside world, no indication that trust would fracture, no suggestion that safety would be compromised. But absence of visible trouble does not mean the absence of risk. In many families, change begins quietly. It arrives not with confrontation, but with subtle shifts that are easy to ignore. And inside the Patel home, those shifts had not yet revealed themselves. For now, everything appeared normal, stable, contained, safe. The truth had not surfaced yet. Change rarely arrives all at once. More often, it enters quietly, disguised as routine adjustments or harmless deviations that feel easy to dismiss. Inside the Patel household, the first shifts were so minor that they barely registered as problems. They appeared as isolated moments rather than a pattern, and in a home already shaped by exhaustion and long workdays, those moments were easy to overlook. For Aaron, nothing initially felt alarming. Life was busy. His workdays stretched late into the evening, and when he returned home, his focus remained on providing consistency. He assumed that fatigue explained most irregularities. Parenthood demanded patience, and marriage, especially under pressure, required tolerance. He believed that stability meant not overreacting to small changes. The earliest difference appeared in Lena's routine. She began taking longer outings with Kian, announcing extended walks that stretched well beyond what had previously been typical. At first, Aaron viewed it positively. Fresh air was good for the baby, and time outside helped break the monotony of being indoors all day. But over time, the details stopped aligning. Each time she returned, the stroller showed no signs of use. Even after rain, the wheels were spotless. There were no traces of pavement dust, no watermarks, no evidence of distance traveled. Individually, the detail meant nothing. Together, repeated often enough, it created unease. Her appearance began to change as well. Before leaving the house, Lena took noticeably more care with how she looked. Makeup became routine, not occasional. Clothing choices appeared deliberate rather than practical. These adjustments were subtle, not dramatic, but they contrasted with the casual, comfort-focused habits she had maintained since Kian's birth. When Aaron asked simple questions about her plans, her responses grew vague. She offered explanations that lacked specifics and redirected conversations quickly. Communication, once open and straightforward, started to feel guarded. Her phone became another quiet source of tension. Calls came more frequently, often at odd hours. When the phone rang, Lena answered immediately and stepped away, lowering her voice. Conversations ended the moment Aaron entered the room. If he asked who had called, the answer was always brief: a friend, a check-in, nothing important, followed by a rapid shift in subject. The consistency of this behavior made it impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Eventually, Aaron tried to address the distance directly. He asked if something was wrong, if she was feeling overwhelmed, if there was anything he could help with. The response surprised him. Instead of reassurance, he was met with irritation. She accused him of hovering, of watching too closely, of not giving her space. The sharpness in her voice was unfamiliar. It wasn't the words themselves that unsettled him. It was how quickly the conversation escalated. After that exchange, the atmosphere inside the house changed. Daily routines continued, but the ease between them faded. Meals were quieter. Conversations shortened. Lena often focused on her phone, scrolling silently while Aaron spoke. Household tasks that she once handled effortlessly were left unfinished. When he noticed, she reacted defensively, as if any observation carried an accusation. The emotional distance grew without a single defining argument. Even Kian's presence, usually a source of connection, failed to bridge the widening gap. They still shared responsibilities, but coordination replaced warmth. The house remained functional, yet something essential felt absent. The calm that once defined their space gave way to uncertainty. Then came the night that shifted everything. It was just after 1 a.m. when Kian stirred. His cry was brief, the kind that usually faded on its own. Instead of getting out of bed, Aaron reached for his phone and opened the baby monitor app, expecting nothing more than reassurance. The nursery appeared as usual, dim light, a still crib, but the audio picked up movement elsewhere in the house. Through the open doorway, partially visible on the feed, Aaron saw Lena crossing the living room. She held her phone close to her mouth. Her voice was low, measured, intentional. A sentence cut through the silence clearly enough to understand. He doesn't suspect anything. Come later, and not through the front door. The words landed with precision. Aaron replayed the recording to be certain. The phrase did not change. The tone did not soften. The meaning remained unmistakable. A physical reaction followed before logic caught up. A cold tightening in his chest. A sudden awareness that something had crossed a boundary he could not ignore. He said nothing that night. Lena returned to the bedroom moments later, unaware that the camera had captured everything. Aaron lay awake, silent, processing the shift that had just occurred. The baby monitor, installed for comfort, had revealed something far more serious than restlessness or routine noise. From that moment on, doubt became a constant presence. The house was still, the night was quiet, but certainty had entered the space between them, and it would not leave. In the following days, Aaron Patel found himself unable to ignore the significance of what he had heard. The baby monitor, once a device of reassurance, had become a silent witness to something he could not yet fully comprehend. He began reviewing the footage each night, long after the house had fallen quiet. At first, most nights were uneventful, just the familiar rhythm of a sleeping Kian, small shifts in the crib, the glow of the night lamp tracing soft patterns across the walls. But those hours of monotony only heightened his vigilance. Every movement, every whisper, every shadow became a clue he could not afford to dismiss. Over time, Aaron began to notice fragments of conversations. They were brief, broken, often just a few words, but the meaning was unmistakable. Phrases like, "Don't knock," or "He won't wake up if you go upstairs," suggested planning, coordination, and secrecy. These were not the accidental utterances of someone lost in thought. They were intentional, directed, and deliberate. A knot of anxiety grew in Aaron's chest with each replay. Questions mounted. Was someone entering their home at night? Why was Lena facilitating it? Was this merely emotional betrayal, or something more serious? The tension inside the house shifted perceptibly. Aaron no longer felt the security of a shared home. Conversations with Lena became strained, clipped, and defensive. When he attempted to address his growing concerns directly, she responded with irritation and dismissal, accusing him of paranoia, of invasion of privacy, of not trusting her. Each encounter only deepened the distance between them. Trust, once implicit, had begun to crumble. Realizing he needed more clarity, Aaron took a step he had never imagined. He purchased a small, discreet camera designed to blend into household surroundings. It was placed strategically on a hallway bookshelf, angled toward the entryway and staircase, the thoroughfares of their home. The purpose was simple: to observe activity beyond the nursery, to gather evidence of what he could not otherwise see. He justified the decision as necessary, rationalizing that if nothing unusual occurred, the footage would simply be deleted. Once installed, the hallway camera became part of Aaron's nightly routine. He synchronized its recordings with the baby monitor, scrutinizing every movement and every shadow. Most nights revealed nothing unusual. The house dark and silent, Kian shifting occasionally in his crib, faint noises of settling wood. But increasingly, subtle inconsistencies appeared. Shadows lingered in corners where no one should be. Soft sounds echoed through the hallways at odd intervals. Lena occasionally moved through the rooms without clear purpose. Each observation was small, but collectively, they painted a picture of activity Aaron could not account for. The psychological impact was immediate. The devices no longer simply monitored the baby. They became Aaron's only reliable source of truth. Conversation had broken down, trust had eroded, and the footage provided objective evidence that could not be manipulated. Every night, he watched, scanning for anomalies, waiting for the moment when concern would become certainty. And certainty arrived sooner than he could have anticipated. One Thursday, shortly before 2 a.m., the hidden hallway camera captured movement near the front entrance. A faint shadow appeared along the lower portion of the frame, followed by quiet, deliberate footsteps. The front door, unlocked earlier, offered easy access. A man entered the house with deliberate familiarity. There was no hesitation, no searching, no attempt to orient himself. His movements were calculated, confident, purposeful. He walked deeper into the hallway, and moments later, Lena appeared. She did not show surprise or alarm. Instead, her body language signaled coordination. A subtle gesture indicated to the man where to go, and together they ascended the staircase. The camera recorded the deliberate nature of their movement, silent, practiced, and intentional. This was no accident, no miscommunication. The footage made the reality impossible to deny. Aaron, awakened by faint noises upstairs, witnessed the scene unfold in real time. The visual evidence confirmed the whispered warnings captured days earlier. The man in the house was not a stranger merely passing by. He was directed, guided, and enabled. The baby monitor continued its silent observation, documenting the house in its ordinary state even as extraordinary events transpired beyond the nursery walls. In the space of a few short minutes, the ordinary world of the Patel home began to fracture irreversibly. A device meant for safety and reassurance had become the lens through which betrayal and danger were revealed. The first critical pieces of the puzzle were in place, captured in high definition. time-stamped, and undeniable. The calm that had once defined their home was gone. Suspicion, fear, and the need for answers now occupied every corner of Aaron's mind. He understood, with chilling clarity, that life as he had known it was over, and that the evidence he held would define the events to come. The days following the first recordings were marked by a tension that neither Aaron nor Lena could ignore. The cameras had revealed fragments of a reality Aaron could no longer deny, and yet, confronting it directly was fraught with uncertainty. He tried small inquiries at first, casually asking where Lena had been during her long walks or why the stroller wheels were always spotless. Each question, however, was met with defensiveness or dismissal. Her responses were controlled, measured, and vague. She deflected, accused him of overthinking, and reframed his concern as mistrust. The household rhythm changed. The quiet patience that had once characterized Aaron's approach to parenting and marriage gave way to heightened vigilance. Every sound in the house, every step, every phone call carried potential significance. He began tracking times, noting inconsistencies, and synchronizing footage from both cameras. What had started as a tool for reassurance had become a method of survival, an attempt to understand the true nature of what was happening in his home. Then came the night that confirmed his worst fears. Around 1:47 a.m., the hidden hallway camera detected movement near the front entrance. A man stepped inside. The frame captured his posture, his deliberate stride, and the ease with which he navigated the house. It was clear he was familiar with the layout. Moments later, Lena appeared. She showed no surprise, no alarm. Instead, she guided the man silently toward the staircase, a small gesture conveying instructions only he could understand. Their coordination was undeniable. Aaron, now fully awake and watching in disbelief, realized that the event was not isolated. The previous whispers, the vague excuses, and the subtle changes in Lena's behavior were part of a pattern. The presence of the man, later identified as Rohan Mehta, was proof of coordination and planning. The baby monitor continued its quiet recording, capturing not only the nursery, but the subtle interplay of movements, gestures, and whispered words that Aaron had feared might exist. As the pair ascended the stairs, the hallway camera caught every moment. The soft creak of the floorboards, the muffled exchange of words, and the deliberate pacing all pointed to intent rather than accident. Aaron, witnessing the events unfold, understood the danger in a way he could not have anticipated. He saw the unfolding of actions that would have catastrophic consequences, and there was no time to intervene without risking escalation. The staircase, narrow and unyielding, became the stage for the defining incident. When confrontation became unavoidable, the situation escalated almost immediately. Aaron stepped forward, demanding explanations, his voice firm but controlled. The man, Rohan, attempted to pass, moving with urgency. The confined space allowed no room for calm resolution. A sudden shove, perhaps driven by panic rather than premeditation, resulted in Aaron losing his footing. The fall was instantaneous and irreversible. Down the full length of the stairs, Aaron tumbled, striking the final steps with a force that made the impact unmistakable. The camera documented the event with clinical clarity, recording the shock, the pause, and the immediate aftermath. Lena froze at the top of the stairs. Her reaction, recorded in full, conveyed initial disbelief followed by a whispered, chilling statement. "We say he fell. You weren't here. No one needs to know." In the nursery, the baby monitor blinked as usual. It captured the incident from afar, a silent observer documenting moments no one else had witnessed. The fall, the conversation, and the immediate attempt to manipulate the narrative were all preserved in real time. Within minutes, the consequences of that single act had irreversibly changed the lives of everyone in the Patel household. The sequence of events, from Rohan's entry to the fall, lasted less than 6 minutes. Yet in that brief span, trust was destroyed, betrayal was exposed, and the ordinary life the family had built was shattered. The cameras, intended for protection and reassurance, had captured the truth with stark clarity. They bore witness to the transformation of a quiet home into the scene of tragedy. Aaron's fall was not just a moment of physical impact. It marked the beginning of a legal and emotional storm that would ripple outward, affecting every relationship and every decision in the days that followed. The cameras, once background devices, were now central to understanding the sequence of events. Without them, the incident might have been mischaracterized, misremembered, or dismissed entirely. With them, the truth was undeniable. In the moments following Aaron's fall, the household was filled with a tense, heavy silence. Lena remained at the top of the staircase, frozen, whispering instructions meant to conceal the truth. Rohan lingered nearby, breathing heavily, aware that the event had gone far beyond a simple misstep. The baby monitor in the nursery continued its steady blinking, innocently capturing every second of the unfolding crisis. Kian, unaware of the gravity of the situation, shifted in his crib, the soft sound of his stirring marking the contrast between the innocence of life and the complexity of adult deception. Within minutes, paramedics arrived at the townhouse. Aaron was found unconscious at the base of the stairs with severe head trauma. The emergency team worked quickly to stabilize him, their movements efficient, precise, and entirely professional. At the same time, police officers began preliminary questioning, documenting the scene with meticulous care. Lena's account was immediate and rehearsed. She claimed that she had discovered her husband at the bottom of the stairs after hearing a noise, suggesting an accidental fall. But inconsistencies quickly emerged. The front door had been left unlocked at nearly 2 a.m, a detail she could not explain. Her statements regarding the sequence of events changed slightly each time officers pressed for clarification. Investigators began examining the house systematically. The kitchen revealed 2 glasses on the counter, one freshly used, and another that appeared to have been touched only minimally. Lena's explanation that she had poured a second drink earlier did not match the evidence observed by officers. Every detail of the home was scrutinized, from the placement of furniture to marks on the walls, and then attention turned to the cameras. The baby monitor's indicator light remained on, clearly operational, while the hidden hallway camera, though discreet, was identified as a potential source of crucial evidence. Lena insisted that both devices were broken, that the footage had not been used in weeks. Her tone was controlled, almost rehearsed, but it did little to convince the investigators. The police secured the devices, and once they accessed the cloud storage, the footage was intact. Nothing had been deleted. Every critical moment, from Rohan's entry, to the coordinated ascent up the staircase, to the fatal confrontation, and finally Lena's whispered instructions to mislead authorities, was preserved in high-definition clarity. The evidence painted a picture impossible to ignore. It was no accident. The footage confirmed not only the presence of another individual in the home, but also the deliberate coordination between Lena and Rohan. Digital timestamps, synchronized audio, and visual cues provided an unbroken narrative. Investigators could see the sequence exactly as it had unfolded: planning, execution, confrontation, and deception. The camera recordings had transformed from tools of reassurance to instruments of undeniable truth. For Aaron, the realization was devastating. The home he had once considered a safe, controlled space had been infiltrated, and the devices meant to ensure Kian's safety had captured betrayal instead. The very technology that had offered peace of mind had also delivered proof of manipulation and premeditation. Rohan Mehta was swiftly identified and located. Within 24 hours, law enforcement had executed his arrest at his apartment. A search revealed his phone and extensive evidence of communication with Lena. Metadata, call logs, and recovered messages revealed months of coordinated interaction, often during late hours when Aaron was asleep or at work. Deleted messages were partially recovered, showing a consistent pattern of secrecy. These communications, combined with the camera footage, eliminated any suggestion that the fall had been accidental. The baby monitor and hallway camera had become the central pillars of the investigation. What might have been dismissed as a tragic accident was now indisputably documented as a deliberate act, facilitated and enabled by another adult. They preserved the timeline, captured intent, and provided clarity that verbal accounts could not. In the quiet of the house, long after the paramedics had left and the first responders had finished documenting the scene, the digital record remained objective, irrefutable, and damning. The legal process that followed Aaron Patel's death unfolded slowly but deliberately. Prosecutors focused on 2 primary claims: that the shove delivered by Rohan Mehta met the threshold for manslaughter, and that both Rohan and Lena Patel had engaged in deliberate attempts to obstruct justice immediately after the incident. From the outset, the case relied heavily on digital evidence. The baby monitor and hidden hallway camera formed the backbone of the prosecution's argument. Unlike testimony that could be misremembered or misinterpreted, the footage offered a continuous, time-stamped record of events. It was objective, undeniable, and impossible to dispute. The trial began with the presentation of the video recordings. Jurors were shown the sequence in chronological order: the man entering the home, Lena's coordinated gestures guiding him, their ascent to the second floor, the confrontation, and finally the shove that caused Aaron's fatal fall. The footage concluded with Lena whispering instructions intended to mislead investigators. Each frame, each second, emphasized the planning, coordination, and deliberate intent that had led to tragedy. The defense attempted to shift the narrative. Rohan's lawyers argued that the shove was reflexive, a panic response rather than an intentional act meant to harm. Lena's attorneys claimed her statements were made under stress, framing her words as emotional reactions rather than premeditated attempts to obstruct justice. But the video undermined these arguments. The controlled nature of both individuals' movements, the precise gestures, and the timing of the whispered instructions contradicted claims of spontaneity or emotional overwhelm. The jurors could see the planning unfold in real time, subtle, deliberate, and intentional. Further evidence reinforced the narrative. Rohan's phone contained months of communication with Lena, including texts and call logs during late-night hours when Aaron was asleep or at work. Metadata revealed patterns of coordination, deleted messages that hinted at deliberate concealment, and discussions indicating a relationship that had advanced beyond casual interaction. The prosecution used this material to establish motive and intent, showing that both individuals had acted together to manipulate the situation inside the home. Medical testimony confirmed the severity of Aaron's injuries. Experts detailed the mechanism of trauma sustained from the fall, explaining how the force and angle were consistent with the shove captured on video. Forensic analysis of the staircase and surrounding area ruled out accidental slipping or misstep. Each piece of evidence, the video, the phone records, and the medical findings, interlocked to form a coherent and compelling story. During the proceedings, the role of technology was emphasized repeatedly. The cameras, originally installed for ordinary parental reassurance, had become critical to revealing the truth. Without them, it was possible that Aaron's death could have been mischaracterized as a tragic accident. With them, investigators and jurors could witness every detail: the unauthorized entry, the silent coordination, the fatal act, and the immediate attempt to create a false narrative. The recordings had preserved a timeline immune to manipulation or memory lapses. The prosecution's framing was clear. This was not a story of negligence or misfortune. It was a story of deliberate acts, concealed intentions, and conscious decisions that directly led to Aaron Patel's death. The evidence did not leave room for ambiguity. Each juror could see the sequence for themselves, and the digital record replaced speculation with certainty. As the trial unfolded, it became increasingly apparent that the combination of surveillance and modern technology would decide the case. In a world where verbal accounts can be incomplete, selective, or deceptive, these devices offered objective clarity. The cameras had turned what might have been a disputed narrative into an irrefutable account of planning, intent, and consequence. After weeks of testimony, the trial reached its climax. Jurors had watched, analyzed, and absorbed the evidence. The videos from the nursery and hallway cameras, the forensic analyses, medical reports, and phone records. Each piece of evidence reinforced the same conclusion: Aaron Patel's death was not an accident. It was the result of deliberate actions, coordinated planning, and immediate efforts to conceal the truth. The jury's deliberation was thorough. They considered the defense's arguments, weighed the notion of panic and emotional distress, and evaluated Lena and Rohan's intentions. But the continuous video recordings left little room for doubt. Every juror could see the deliberate movement, the whispered instructions, and the coordination between the two adults. The objective, time-stamped nature of the footage left alternative narratives largely implausible. The verdict confirmed what investigators and prosecutors had argued from the beginning. Rohan Mehta was found guilty of manslaughter and obstruction of justice. His actions had directly caused Aaron's death, and his immediate collaboration with Lena in attempting to mislead authorities reinforced the severity of his culpability. He received a sentence of 12 years in federal custody, reflecting both the seriousness of the fatal act and the conscious steps taken to hide the truth. Lena Patel faced separate charges, including obstruction of justice, providing false statements, and contributing to circumstances that led to Aaron's death. Her actions before and after the fall, directing Rohan, attempting to control the narrative, and failing to seek immediate truthful assistance, were key factors in her conviction. She received 8 years in federal custody. Attention quickly shifted to their 9-month-old son, Kian. Social services intervened immediately, determining that placing him with relatives of Aaron Patel would provide stability and continuity. The court ruled that neither parent would retain guardianship during or after incarceration without a formal review. For Kian, life had changed irreversibly, shaped by events he would not remember, but whose consequences would follow him for years to come. The case drew attention not only for its tragic outcome, but also for the unusual role technology played. The cameras, mundane household devices installed for ordinary reassurance, had become the most critical evidence. Without them, Aaron's fall might have been accepted as a tragic accident. With them, the truth could no longer be hidden. They documented the fatal sequence, the presence of an intruder, the coordination, and the attempt to misrepresent the event. In essence, the devices preserved reality while human memory and deception failed. Legal and investigative professionals reflected on the broader implications. The case highlighted how ordinary surveillance technology could become pivotal in criminal investigations. It underscored the idea that when human actions are clouded by intention, devices designed for safety can serve as unerring witnesses. In the Patel household, the contrast was stark. Tools meant to comfort a family had recorded its destruction. Ultimately, the conclusion was clear. The cameras did not lie. People do. And in this instance, the cameras provided the only fully accurate account of the events that occurred in the Patel home that night. Their footage, combined with forensic evidence and digital communication records, ensured that justice, though delayed, was delivered. The tragic story of Aaron Patel, Lena Patel, and Rohan Mehta became a cautionary tale, demonstrating how technology, truth, and human intention intersect in ways that are both ordinary and extraordinary. A quiet home, a simple baby monitor, and a small hidden camera had together revealed a sequence of betrayal and consequence that might otherwise have remained hidden forever. In the aftermath of the trial, the Patel case remained in the public consciousness for its tragic clarity and the unusual role of technology in revealing the truth. Families, legal experts, and social workers alike reflected on how ordinary devices, intended to provide safety, comfort, and reassurance, had inadvertently documented a deliberate act of deception and violence. The cameras had done what words could not. They had captured reality, preserved evidence, and exposed human intention with unerring accuracy. For Kian, Aaron, and Lena's infant son, life moved forward in the care of relatives who provided stability and continuity. Social workers emphasized the importance of nurturing a secure environment, helping the child regain a sense of normalcy after witnessing, however indirectly, the collapse of his original household. The court's decision to remove custody from both parents underscored a crucial principle. The safety and well-being of a child must always take precedence over other considerations. Beyond the courtroom, the case prompted broader discussions about the intersection of technology and domestic life. Modern households often rely on cameras, monitors, and connected devices, assuming they will provide convenience or protection. But as the Patel case demonstrated, these same devices can also reveal unsettling truths that might otherwise remain hidden. In this instance, a baby monitor and a hidden hallway camera were transformed from mundane objects into vital instruments of justice. Their presence ensured that the fatal events were recorded, documented, and preserved in a way that words alone could not. Legal professionals highlighted the implications for investigations in similar cases. When human memory falters, or when deliberate deception obscures events, digital evidence can provide a continuous, time-stamped narrative. The Patel case illustrated how technology, when combined with careful analysis, can illuminate the facts in situations where traditional evidence might fail. The footage was not just proof. It was a window into intention, coordination, and consequence. At its core, the story is a cautionary tale about trust, secrecy, and the fragile boundaries of domestic life. A seemingly ordinary home, a routine set of devices, and the everyday rhythms of a young family were transformed into the setting for tragedy. It reminds us that human actions, even when concealed, can leave traces, and that vigilance, both emotional and technological, sometimes becomes a matter of survival. The cameras, intended to monitor an infant's sleep, became the unblinking witnesses to the unraveling of a household. They captured the reality of betrayal and consequence in real time. And though the story ended with legal resolution, the human cost, the loss of Patel, the incarceration of both adults, and the disruption of Kian's early life, serves as a sobering reminder that the ordinary can conceal the extraordinary. In the end, the Patel case offers a clear, stark lesson. Technology does not lie. People do. And in this story, the truth, meticulously documented, time-stamped, and preserved, emerged from the devices meant to protect and reassure. What began as a simple act of parental care became an unintentional chronicle of betrayal, consequence, and the enduring importance of objective evidence. The quiet home, the blinking monitor, the hidden camera, all served as reminders that even in the most ordinary settings, the truth can reveal itself in ways no one expects, and justice, when guided by evidence, can ultimately prevail. Viewers, this case leaves us with some difficult questions about human behavior and decision-making. Why do people sometimes act in ways that harm those closest to them? What is going through someone's mind when they choose secrecy, betrayal, or even violence instead of stepping back to think twice? How could a situation escalate so quickly that ordinary routines and small acts of care are replaced by deliberate actions with devastating consequences? We'd love to hear your perspective. What do you think motivates someone to make choices like this? Do you believe fear, desire, or opportunity plays the largest role? And how can families or individuals recognize subtle shifts before they become dangerous? Your thoughts, insights, and experiences can help spark a conversation about trust, awareness, and the role of technology in everyday life. So leave your thoughts in the comments below, share this video with others who might find it thought-provoking, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. We'll meet you next time with another investigation into real-life events that reveal the unexpected truths hiding behind ordinary lives.